Today, Clive is joining me. Grab that notepad, grab that pen and paper. We are going to be delving into the world of knowing your ideal client. I'm about to load the intro reel, so that gives you a few times to grab that cuppa, grab that water, and join us today. Well, welcome. It is Tuesday. We're here 2 weeks in a row this time because we've had our session with Josh, and today we're delving into knowing your ideal client with Clive. Clive is my co-founder here at Business. He sort of hides a little bit in the group. You see him occasionally, but he's the one that's sort of hiding behind the scenes. But he's the strategist, and he's the person who helps you know how to work with your ideal client, connect with them, and deliver the clarity that you need. Now, Clive is going to be taking over the wheels and everything of this skills webinar this morning. I'll be here supporting in chat. Yes, I'm going to step back behind the scenes today. And if you need anything along the way, I'm here to support you. But otherwise, I'm going to duck off camera and allow Clive to come on camera and talk to you about knowing your ideal client. So welcome, Clive.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you, everybody, for being here. Are we ready to go? And of course, everybody wants to work with their ideal client. Everybody would like to know who their ideal client is and how to work with them, because if you're working with your ideal client, you are getting a much better result than if you're not working with your ideal client. So today, we want to talk about the power of knowing your ideal client. What does it actually mean to know your ideal? So first, let's introduce me. I help you discover clarity to more easily engage with more of your ideal clients more often. It's a really simple process once you understand how to deal with your ideal client, because using our proven 10-step system ensures you can understand your client's deepest needs, articulate your value, and sell more easily. At the end of the day, isn't that why we're in business? Now, a little bit more information there about how we go about helping people work with their ideal client and make business far more simple. Today, you'll quite possibly have lots and lots of questions, so please feel comfortable to pop your questions into the chat and we'll deal with them today. Whatever the question is, just pop it in there. Linda will be keeping an eye on the chat, so any questions at all, put them in there. Let's deal with them now. And any question is a good question. So let's get stuck in. Just to give you a bit of an idea of who can have an ideal client and work with that ideal client, these are some of the business types that I've worked with in these sort of fields and in these sort of places. Interesting thing is that it doesn't matter where you're in business, anywhere in the world, business is pretty much the same. And clients are pretty much the same everywhere in the world. It doesn't matter what your industry is. It doesn't matter what your business is. Clients and business, the same all around the world. What sort of results can you expect if you understand who your ideal client is and understand the strategies to work with them? This is a lady who I worked with more than a decade ago now, but anyway, she summed up really well what the difference is in understanding who your client really is and what that client expects of you and how to deliver for that particular client. It's all about having the business that you want to have. And the best way to have that is to understand who you are and understand who your ideal client is. It's knowing. That's this power that you can generate through knowing who your ideal client is. It is knowing what you do. It's knowing what drives you to do it. That's very often referred to as the why. Okay? Whatever drives you to do it. It's vital that you understand in business why you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. It's understanding when you do it, where you do it, and how you do it. All of these things, vital for you to have the business that you want to have. And of course, we've got to have a client, who you do it for and what they receive. Okay, what's a client going to achieve by working with you? We can understand that at a really deep level. Your business becomes the business that you want to have. And it's doing business on your terms. You know, what difference is it going to make to have all of that? Okay. If you identify your ideal client, you have the conversations you want to have. It cuts down the time you spend with people talking about what your business does. It means that you can get to doing the business far more readily, easily, and you achieve better outcomes for the clients you work with because they're your ideal client. Most importantly, you get to deliver what you want, when you want, as you want. It means you have the business that you dream of. It might be some time ago that you had that dream, but that's what it's all about. Thinking of that, why did you go into business in the first place? Indeed, pop some ideas into the chat. Let us know what you think is a good reason for going into business. Because, of course, there's typical reasons, but did you have a special reason for going into business? And if you did, are you achieving it? But typical reasons for being in business include making a living, being your own boss, getting to make your own decisions, and of course, choices, the freedom to make your own choices, to do what you want, where you want, when you want, and to go where you want, when you want. These are all things that we would like to have in our business.
Clive, you've got a
Many
few
people, of
questions
course,
here.
miss out.
You've got a few responses to your area from there. Fred, I've just checked all the channels. Fred's just asking, is it just him or there's no video? There is video that I can see on all of our channels here. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going well. But we have a really dodgy internet connection here today. So it might be some of why we're not seeing stuff as quickly. Uwe said he joined business to be in control of his own destiny. And I have an anonymous one, so I'm gathering that's coming from our Facebook group, and that's all about creating more time in their business. Now, I know both of those are two topics that you like to talk about quite a bit.
Indeed.
So
Yes,
we can dive in more
choices and
later.
freedom.
Keep them coming, guys.
Choices and freedom is really what it's all about. And if we have got ourselves into business and we no longer have choices and freedom, something's not right. There's every chance that's because we're working with the wrong people or trying to work with the wrong people. If we understand who our ideal client is, it means that we have those choices and freedom. And an interesting thing about choices and freedom is that they deliver time. That time is time we can spend doing whatever it is that we want. Because ideally, we work with our ideal client, things happen more easily, things happen better, we get paid on time, we make a profit, we have time to go on holidays, we've got the profit to spend on the holidays. Ideal outcomes from being in business is doing what you love, delivering outcomes for the customers that they love. That means that your customers are going to be shouting about how good you are. That means that you have a better opportunity of getting more customers. it means you don't have to spend quite so much money promoting the idea that you're damn good at what you do, because your customers are telling people for you. We see lots of stories about how you can do lots of marketing, do lots of presentations to your existing customers to get them to rave about what it is you do. If they are your ideal customer, if they get the results that they want, which they will if they are your ideal customer and you do the work that you're there to do, they rave about you without you encouraging them. Makes a heck of a difference. You get to work with people who actually appreciate what it is that you're doing. They refer you, and it means that you get to have a life. That's pretty much an ideal outcome from being in business, I would suggest. So we look at a lot of the myths that surround being in business. Okay, lots of people tell us that the customer is always right, that it takes 5 to 16 touch points to have a prospect know, like, and trust you. You have to be the jack of all trades. 80% of sales are made after the 5th contact. And of course, we need to secure what we have before we seek something new, whether that's clients, staff, suppliers, agents, whatever it happens to be. People tell us that we've got to hold on to what we've got before we start looking at anything new. So let's have a look at those individually and see what we can make of them. Now, it's my view that when you're working with your ideal customer, the customer is always right. Because if they're your ideal customer, they want precisely what it is that you deliver, in precisely the manner that you deliver it, at precisely the time that you deliver it, in precisely the terms and conditions that you deliver it. So therefore, your customer is always right if they're your ideal customer. Otherwise, you might have problems. Now, if it takes us 5 to 16 touch points to have a prospect know, like, and trust us, what are we telling them for all of the times leading up to when they decide they know, like, and trust us? Perhaps we're not delivering the right message, because ideally we want to be talking to people who are prepared to accept us because we're going to deliver what they want. I suggest that sometimes if we're talking to people for 10, 12, 15 times before they decide they like us, maybe they don't want what we've got. Maybe they don't want the way that we deliver it. Something's not right. If we learn how to understand who our ideal client is, part of the power of knowing that is to show them the first time who you are, identify that they are indeed a prospect, to understand everything about what it is that they want, and explain how to deliver what we do in a way that they're comfortable to accept. When they're our ideal client and we can recognize them, that becomes really, really easy. You get to engage with your prospect immediately and not have to keep going back and seeing them time and time and time again. We know what we deliver. We know how we deliver it. We know what our ideal prospect wants. We have a conversation. They take us on. And what about this being jack of all trades? There is so much to be done in a business that it's mind-blowing. It is overwhelming. It can bring a person down. but you don't really need to do them all. Okay, again, a lot of the jobs that are being done in businesses are being done because we're not working with our ideal client. When we're working with our ideal client, business seems to be streamlined. There are much less issues to deal with. We've got our processes and procedures in place, work with the ideal client, they understand exactly what's going to happen, things run swimmingly. All runs very, very nicely. So there are a whole lot of other things that have to be done, but as the business owner, you don't have to do them all. You can outsource. There is a multitude of ways of shifting a task from you to another person. You can have a person come into your business and work within the business to do that task, or you can have that outsourced to somebody external to your business. Ideally, we want to be focusing on our strengths so that we're delivering precisely what we want. Now, if you try to be all things to all people, chances are it's not going to go well, because what customers like is somebody who can treat them very, very well because they want a very specific outcome. And if you understand how to deliver that outcome, you have more customers, and you have more customers who are very pleased with what it is that you're doing. In order to be able to do that, you must know who you are, what you do, who you do it for, where and when you do it, and under what terms and conditions that you do it. When you know that, all of a sudden, there is certainty. And when you have that certainty, you can also count on that as being success. The important thing in all of this is that you, as the business owner, are the one who sets the rules. You've heard this saying before, it's your bed, you make it. So the important question there is, how are you making yours? Is yours giving you grief, your business giving you grief? Or is it set up the way that you want it to be set up? Do you understand who your ideal client is so that you're speaking directly to that person every time you speak about your business? What about this 80% of sales are made after the fifth contact? It's actually true. That's a real statistic, that 80% of sales are made after the fifth contact. Well, that means that if you're in the group that is making 80% of their sales after the fifth contact, it means you have to follow up. It also tells us a whole lot of other things, that there are a whole lot of sales not being made because people aren't following up, because a lot of people give up after the second call. More important than that, what we really want to understand is how to make the sale the first time, but we'll get to that in a moment. Think about what it is that we're doing when we go and see a prospect, but we can't sell our product or service without visiting them 5 times or more. So we also need to look there at what are people basing their decision on if it's taking that long. Because if you can provide a solution to a person's problem that actually solves the problem, that decision will be made, and that's a good, strong, solid decision. They'll make it immediately. Immediately you show them the solution, they will buy it. Are we talking about the features of our product or service? Are we simply talking about the benefits? Are we adding those two together? Or are we talking about what a customer really wants as an outcome? Because if we're talking about the features and even what we think are the benefits, the chances are we're not talking about what the customer actually wants. And if we're doing that, there's every chance they won't tell us to no, they're not going to buy, but keep us coming back to talk to them again and again because something's close. If we know who our ideal client is, we then know what questions to ask so that the client, the prospect at this stage, will actually tell us exactly what the outcome is that they want. In doing that, we get to make the sale, the first call. And let's have a look at what it actually costs if we don't make the sale on the first call. We call and we see a prospect, we have a conversation, we make a sale. We earn 100% of whatever it is that we would get. If we go back for a second call, we're only going to get 50%. If we go for a third call, we're only going to get 25%. And if we go back for a fourth call, as the old bloke who told me this many, many years ago, what he said was, if you go back for a fourth call, that's just plain something or other stupid. So how do we arrive at those figures? If you go and see a prospect and they're your ideal client, you make a sale, you get 100%. If you go back for a second time, well, there's all that time that you're spending with this potential customer. That's got to be calculated. Then you've got the additional time it's going to take to get it started because they're not motivated as much as the person who said yes the first time, and so on and so forth down the road to the third one, etc. All the time you're spending on this second call or third call could have been spent speaking to a prospect who is your ideal customer and is ready to go right now. All of these things eat into the profitability of your business. If something's eating into the profitability of your business, it's stealing your time. If you don't have time, you don't have choice. If you don't have the freedom to choose, you're possibly not sleeping well at night. It all comes back to working with your ideal client. What about this? We need to secure what you have before seeking something new. Now, it doesn't matter whether we're talking about clients, staff, suppliers, agents, or something new, something else. It all comes back to the same thing. If we're worrying about what we might lose, that suggests we're looking backward and not forward. It means we're not using our growth mindset. We're probably looking at things from a scarcity mentality. We're worried about what we might lose rather than the potential of what we might gain. Now, if you have clients, staff, suppliers, agents, any of that, and you're thinking, I need to secure them, but they're toxic, if they're toxic, move them out and move them out now. Don't wait, because the longer you leave it, the more problems you're developing. This all comes back to being clear about you, because when you're clear about you, that is what you want, what you do, how you do it, when you do it, who you do it for, etc., life is easier. Everybody that you associate with, clients, staff, suppliers, agents, they all want to help. And in wanting to help, it's been my experience that people want to help by doing things your way. So if you know really clearly who you are and how you do things, etc., it's really easy for people to help you. But if you're unclear on any of that, people are less inclined to want to help. And they're less inclined to want to help because they can't see how helping you is going to be of benefit to you or to them. Really clear about you. And knowing your ideal client allows you to deliver everything that you promise to deliver every time. We've all heard about this over-promising and under-delivering. We don't want to go there. You only promise what you can deliver, and then you deliver. It works, and it works every time. It makes it easier for you to focus on your business. Focus on growing your business. Because remember why we started this business. We started this business because we wanted time, because we wanted choices, we wanted to make money. If we are focused on growing the business, we can have everything that we started out for. We all know the numbers. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, 65% of businesses that start fail within the first 3 years. What are they focusing on? Apparently, it's not growing the business. If we know our ideal client, that is what delivers success. And it delivers success as you want it. Understanding who your ideal client is means business runs more smoothly and is more simple. It's really how it works. Advertising and marketing becomes more simple because you know precisely who you're speaking to. You know precisely where they hang out, where they congregate. In other words, where you can send your message so that they're going to see it and hear it. More importantly, they're going to understand it because you're only speaking to your ideal client. You're not throwing out a catch-all message. You're throwing out a message which is very, very clear to your ideal client. You actually have more time to spend with ideal clients because you get to identify them quickly. You're not spending so much time trying to have conversations with people who don't want to have the conversation. Identifying your ideal client means that you have time to have the conversation to identify how things are going to work, to be really clear on how you're going to deliver whatever it is that you do. That means that we can have agreement on what's going to happen. And perhaps the most important thing here is, once you've identified what it is that you do, it's your choice. This is back to how you make your bed. Somebody wants you to change what you do. Yeah, you might think, okay, I'll just make this little change and it'll be fine. If someone wants you to change whatever it is that you deliver, you're no longer delivering what you want to deliver. It's worth thinking about that because that interferes with your clarity. That interferes with the message that you're sending to your ideal client. It also interferes with the smooth running of your business. Because if you change something so that it doesn't match your policies and procedures, all of a sudden you've got issues developing in your business. And they can happen really, really quickly because you think, oh, well, it won't hurt just this one time. Just this one time weakens your message, takes away from what it is that you deliver. It allows you more time to focus on your business. It also means it's easier to identify the right employees. And the right employees are the ones who are committed to the business, not the ones who want a job. When you understand who your ideal client is, you can employ people who want to deliver what that ideal client wants, rather than somebody who's looking at doing a job. At the end of the day, the job doesn't count for a lot. It's what the client gets out of it that's important, not the job. As long as your work does what you say it will do, that's fine. That's all that's needed there. The client is actually looking for something different than the work you do. It means that you've got more time. It's more time for training. It's got more time for a lot of things. You've got more time to get yourself more customers. If you have more customers, you make more sales. If you've got more sales, you have more profit. It means you have happier customers because you're only dealing with your ideal client. It also means that you have no competition because your ideal client, notwithstanding that other people might be in a similar business to yours and delivering similar things, your ideal client is not someone else's ideal client. It means you have no competition when you understand who your ideal client is and understand how to have a conversation with those particular people. Makes business a dream because it's more time for you. So to sell more of your product or service, you need to know what defines your ideal client. You want to know how to qualify them. And to do that, you can use a qualifying statement. And a qualifying statement is something that you say which allows a potential customer to identify that what you do is what they want, and it's going to deliver for them the outcomes that they're looking for. Now, you might have heard people talk about elevator pitches. I'm not talking about an elevator pitch. I've been around business and sales for quite a few years, and almost every elevator pitch I've ever heard contains within it more reasons why somebody wouldn't work with with that particular person than why somebody would. That sets up a whole bunch of conversations that, as a business person, you don't really want to have. But in understanding precisely what your ideal client wants, you know exactly how to speak with them because you know exactly what they want as the outcome. And the most important thing of all is to have a conversation with these people. Having the right conversation is very important because it needs to be about them. If you spend most of your time with prospects talking about how clever you are or how wonderful it is that you do things the way that you do them, that's really not what they're after. The conversation they want to have is about them and their outcomes. I'll give you a little example. Let's imagine for a moment that I sell water pumps. And we've had an inquiry for somebody who's looking to buy a water pump. Now, for some reason, this message hasn't come down to me, the salesperson, to go out and see this potential customer for 3 weeks. But I go out and I see this customer, and the customer says he's very keen to get hold of a new water pump because he had a water pump, but the water pump died. Now, what do you want in a water pump? Well, he wants a water pump that will pump 100 litres per hour. Now, at this point, I could have a little bit of a problem because the water pumps that I sell will only do 80 litres per hour. However, I've got a choice. I can leave or I can spend the time to find out what this person really, really wants. So in having a conversation with this particular prospect, We discover that he wants the water pumped from the stream that goes past his house to bring the water into the house. Now, that's where we start. That's the very beginning of why he wants the water. When we have a conversation further, we discover that what he really wants is he wants his family to be able to wash and to cook, etc. So now we're starting to get to the importance of what it is that this person is actually looking for. In further conversation, we discover that he's actually got a daughter who he thinks the sun shines out of. And it's been 3 weeks since he's had water pumped into the house. And he's watched his daughter going down to the stream to have a little bit of a brief wash. And then she's going off to go into town to do whatever she's doing. And he feels bad because she's going out not as well dressed, not as well cleaned. The long hair's not flowing like it normally does. So he wants to see her going out in all her finery in the best way that she possibly can. So that's one part of his motivation. Another part of his motivation is that for 3 weeks, he's felt terrible because his daughter is going out there and he's worried that she might think he's inadequate as a father because she hasn't been able to wash properly. Now, am I still just selling a water pump, or am I actually solving this person's problem? By having further conversation, we can talk about the 3 weeks that he's had to cope with no water coming into the house. That means that we can build redundancy into the system. By having the appropriate conversation, that fellow buys 2 80-litre per hour water pumps because he's not going to use one of them all the time. It's only for a top-up. And if, like has just recently happened, the one that he uses most breaks down, he's got the other one in reserve. So he's always got water to solve his biggest problems. That's the power of understanding your ideal customer. And it means that if you understand that customer, you have better conversations. Because you have better conversations, you meet more of them, you make more sales, it gives you more time, it gives you freedom to choose to do whatever it is that you want to do. Have we had any questions so far, Linda?
Questions?
There's been one or two?
We've had a few questions, and so some of the people have been talking about, being pushed down this funnel system. Clive, that is one of the ones that I'm getting. I keep getting told about funnels, and what does ideal client, so how does it relate to funnels, is one of the questions that I am seeing here right now. And the other one that we've had come up has been a little bit about how do they go through this process of knowing their ideal client? Do you have a template or something that they can look at?
Okay, identify the second one first. Identifying your ideal client. Most people find it difficult to identify their ideal client because it requires looking at things beyond what we're typically taught. Typically, if we use the example of the fellow who wanted the water pump, who's the ideal client, generally speaking, for the business that sells water pumps? It's somebody that wants to buy a water pump. Well, there are a lot of businesses that sell water pumps. If everybody is working on the same idea that the ideal client is somebody who wants to buy a water pump of a particular size, of a particular manufactured quality, to do a particular number of litres per hour, everybody's selling a commodity. Now, if you're selling a commodity, you're out there in the thick of it with everybody else who's sending the same message, guiding people to the same funnel, to see whether they'll pop out the bottom of it. If you're talking about your product or the service that you provide, the chances are whoever's listening to you is getting bored. We need to talk to the ideal customer in the language the ideal customer understands. Now, if you saw the first few slides that I showed today, you will have heard me say, I help people discover clarity to more easily engage with more of their ideal clients more often. Now, what does that actually mean? Because within it, it describes my ideal client. Now, did that say anything about gender? No. Did it say anything about race? No. Did it say anything about age? No. Did it say anything about anything demographic at all? I don't think so. What it did was identify that my ideal client is a person who wants to discover the clarity to more easily engage with more of their ideal clients more often. That means there's only one person who will hear that. Now, that person might be multiplied 1,000 times in a room of a couple of thousand people. But the people who aren't interested in discovering the clarity to more easily engage with more of their ideal clients more often will not hear that message. The people who do hear it actually put their hand up. Now, they don't physically put their hand up. They will typically ask, how do you do that? And then I can explain how that is done in a way that they will or will not be comfortable to hear. And in hearing that message, we're moving one step further to that person identifying themselves as my ideal client. How do you actually find that? It requires looking deep inside, first of all, who you are. What do you do? How do you go about doing it? When do you want to do these things? Under what terms and conditions will you do it? Then requires looking, who is the customer that fits with that? Because if there's not a match between what you do and want to do and how you want to do it, etc., and what the customer wants, that's not going to work. Then it also requires to look further to find out, to identify what it is that the customer wants as the outcome. Now, we'll go back and look at mine again. I help people discover clarity to more easily engage with more of their ideal clients more often. Now, what is the customer looking for? The customer is looking for that step in the journey. That is, if they feel that if they find the clarity to more easily engage with more of their ideal clients more often, their business will perform better. If their business performs better, they will earn more money. If they earn more money, they have more choice. They can have the freedom to choose whatever it is that they want to do. Now, if I try and identify for each individual that further outcome, then it's not going to work, because I'm going to be talking to somebody about taking a holiday when all they want to do is laze around at home. Whatever that freedom is that they're looking for, they will see inside the understanding that if they engage more easily with more of their ideal clients more often, they can have whatever it is that they want. It's very complex, but if you take the time to dig into it and identify who your ideal client is, all these other benefits that I've been talking about come to you. And in the end, it comes back to you having more time. It becomes you having a more relaxed lifestyle, the ability to choose whatever it is that you want to do. Remind me what the question
I'm
was?
going to throw it out there that if anyone has any questions, they can ask you on volley following up today's session. How does that sound?
That sounds like a good idea. Have we got a link we can send for that?
I do.
Thank you.
I am good at this. Okie dokie.
What was
Anyone else got any remaining questions for Clive? Feel free to ask them while we round out today. I'll give you a few seconds. I'll give Clive a chance to get a glass of water. If you've got any questions from today, ask Clive on volley. You're going to be able to ask him personally. He will come back and he will respond to you personally about your question. So if you're not brave enough to ask them here, then there's a way that you can ask it personally with Clive. I'm going to turn off the presentation screens for a second. A couple of announcements we need to make as business people while you guys have a chance to think and I fall off my stand here and Clive's disappearing off camera, so I might turn him off. Can't disappear on me when you're still in shot. We have the first thing I want to let everyone know is we've got a full sessions for April and May, and I'll pop our skills webinars links in here. April and May is looking huge. We're doing your brand on Facebook, positioning courses as part of your business offering. In May, we've got creating short form videos. We've got a course creation Q&A session, and we've got 2 sessions with experts tools, one with peer boards about building communities and one with OmniSearch about optimizing the search of your content that you deliver to your people as well. They'll be coming up later on today into the skills page, but head to business.com.au/skills to register for that one. That will be huge. There is lots of other stuff happening around. One of them is that we have 15 copies remaining of the 2022 Business Life Planner, and they are going to go out on sale today for $29.95. They are on sale, ready for you to go, and I can't find the product link. I can get everything else, but to get Clive's volley link, I got rid of the link I had organised. Business Life Planner, have you got yours there, Clive? Beautiful. Helps you plan your business goals, break them down, etc., etc. So I went to the accounts team this morning and said I would much rather the last 15 that we have here are in hand for people using them, setting goals, breaking things down, and there are activities and tips in there from Clive to help you understand and identify your ideal client. And he's flipping his way through so you can see it. But
You can even have a little bit of relaxation.
little bit of mindfulness along the way. So there's 15 copies of the Business Life Planner left. They are ready for you to go. Okay, beautiful. He's talking about the week ahead, the planning, all of those sorts of things. Guys, we are at the end of our session today. If there are no more questions, we encourage you to keep joining, keep learning, keep connecting and doing with us here at Business through Reed-Enever Group and through everything that we do. Today has been a great session. I'm going to round things out now with our outro as we head off and delve into a new day ahead. Go out there, take action, and if anything, take the opportunity to be able to ask Clive questions from today. He has got another slide that he wants me to put up on screen that I wasn't ready for. That's how you can find him. He's got courses and all sorts of things in Thinkific too, but make sure that you delve in and you get to know and send him that volley. Send a question out via volley. This has gone out to Clive's LinkedIn as well as mine, so he's going to jump onto LinkedIn and update his own posts over there with the volley link. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. Have a great Tuesday, and we'll be back with more skills and more tips for your business in the future.